The static crackled on the screen, the only sound breaking the oppressive silence in the editing room. Sarah, a freelance documentarian drawn to the unusual, stared at the monitor, her finger poised over the pause button. The footage recovered from a missing hiker's camera was unlike anything she'd ever seen. It began with a shaky view of a dense forest, sunlight filtering through the leaves in a way that cast long, unsettling shadows. The hiker, a young man named David, muttered nervously, his voice barely audible over the wind. He was searching for a legendary cave rumored to hold ancient artifacts, a local legend that had piqued his curiosity. The footage continued for some time, documenting David's trek deeper into the woods. The air seemed to grow thicker, colder, and an unnatural quiet fell over the forest. David tripped over an unseen root, his camera falling to the ground. The view tilted, revealing a glimpse of something scuttling in the undergrowth, something long, spindly, and far too agile for any animal Sarah recognized. David righted the camera, his face pale. "Did you see that?" he whispered, his voice laced with terror. The footage jumped slightly, then showed him scrambling further into the woods, away from the direction of the movement. The next scene opened on a dark cave entrance. David, his flashlight flickering erratically, entered cautiously. The air grew heavy and thick, the silence broken only by the dripping of unseen water. The camera panned across strange symbols etched on the cave walls, the shapes vaguely unsettling, almost hypnotic. David ventured deeper, the passage narrowing, his breathing becoming ragged, his words barely audible. He muttered something about feeling watched, a cold dread emanating from the screen. The flashlight sputtered, plunging the scene into momentary darkness. When the light sputtered back, it revealed a sight that made Sarah scream and slam her hand onto the pause button. In the darkness behind David, at least a dozen figures stood motionless. They were humanoid, but grotesquely warped, their bodies impossibly thin and their limbs elongated like spiders. Their heads, vaguely oval-shaped, were devoid of any features, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. They seemed to vibrate with an unnatural light, emanating a faint hum that resonated through the speakers. Sarah sat frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs. The footage remained paused on the image of the horrifying figures, a tableau of pure cosmic horror. With trembling hands, she hit play again. David turned slowly, the light revealing his twisted face in a mask of utter terror. He let out a choked scream, the sound of pure, primal fear, as the figures began to advance towards him, their movements jerky and unsettling. The camera clattered to the ground, captured a distorted view of the figures engulfing David. The humming grew louder, a horrifying symphony of otherworldly sounds. The screen flickered, then went black. The room was silent. Sarah stared, sweat clinging to her skin, the image of those featureless figures seared into her mind. She knew with a chilling certainty that this wasn't a local legend. This was something far older, far more terrifying. And it had been awakened. The end card of the missing hiker's camera flashed on the screen. Date, unknown. Location, unknown. The date and location were irrelevant. The horror Sarah had witnessed needed no location, no context. It existed beyond the realm of human comprehension, a chilling reminder that the universe held secrets far beyond our wildest nightmares. As Sarah closed the editing program, a single thought echoed in her mind. We are not alone. And what else is out there waiting to be found? Or waiting to find us? Stella squinted through the rain-streaked windshield, the desolate highway mirroring the unease churning in her stomach. Beside her, her younger brother, Liam, scrolled through his phone, oblivious to the oppressive silence that had settled over their once familiar town of Wayward. They were returning home after their grandmother's passing. The house, sitting alone at the end of Oak Street, a stark reminder of a life now gone. As they pulled into the driveway, Stella noticed a change. The oak tree, once the pride of the yard, stood skeletal. Its leaves a sickly yellow, devoid of life. Even the house seemed to sag, its paint peeling like leprous skin. It seems like they had just been there the month before, and everything was kept up then. What happened? Inside, the air hung heavy with dust and the faint scent of lilies, remnants of the funeral held a week ago. Liam, ever practical, dismissed Stella's unease as grief. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the town into an unnatural darkness, a sense of dread gnawed at her. After spending hours tossing and turning in bed, she gave up, and Stella went rummaging through the attic. She figured she would get a head start on packing everything up. After going through box after box after box, she stumbled upon a hidden diary, its brittle pages filled with her grandmother's scrawled handwriting. It spoke of a reoccurring dream, a vision of her mirror. The tall wood mirror had stood in my grandmother's bedroom as long as I could remember. It probably has been in this house since my grandmother was a little girl. There was nothing particularly strange about the mirror. It was nearly floor to ceiling, twice as wide as any human, and it was always immaculate. But there was nothing scary about it, nothing weird, nothing unusual. But my grandmother had been having dreams about it, and she was afraid. That much was clear in her writing. Page after page, I read about her mirror and the dreams that she had been having night after night. Her dreams were about something in the mirror, whispering to her, promised liberation from the confines of life. As Stella read, a strange humming filled the air, a low vibration that resonated through her bones. Panic surged through her as she ran downstairs to find Liam staring out the window, his face pale. The entire town was bathed in an eerie green glow emanating from the sky. The humming intensified, morphing into a chorus of alien sounds, twisting Stella's mind with an incomprehensible dread. Stella grabbed Liam hard and hugged him tight. In an instant, everything was normal again. They didn't sleep much that night. They stayed up talking, snuggled together, providing comfort to each other. Over the next couple of days, nothing strange happened. The two siblings packed up all of their grandmother's belongings, either putting them in a pile to be donated, a pile to go to trash, or a small pile to come home with them. On the last night, they ordered pizza, watched some movies, and just enjoyed each other's company. It was the last time they would probably ever see this house and all of their grandmother's belongings again. After a couple of hours of laughter and full bellies, they fell asleep on the couch together. Suddenly, they were awakened from a deep sleep by some strange sound coming from their grandmother's bedroom. They raced to the bedroom to find that the door that they had closed earlier was now swinging open. Liam and Stella grabbed each other's hands and entered the room. The floor trembled, sending cracked spider webbing across the walls, and in the center of the mirror was their grandmother, smiling, beckoning, asking them to join her, her body radiating with an otherworldly luminescence. A wave of nausea washed over Stella. The diary's whispers echoed in her mind, promising an end to suffering, a final release. Liam, his face contorted in terror, grabbed her arm, pulling her back from the mirror. "Stella, no!" he screamed, his voice barely audible over the deafening roar. But a part of her, exhausted by grief and overwhelmed by the horror unfolding before her, felt a strange sense of peace, an unsettling pull towards the void. In that moment, a horrifying realization slammed into her. Her grandmother's final dream wasn't a vision. It was an invitation, one that Stella felt powerless to resist. With a choked sob, she reached out towards the mirror, her grandmother's face smiling. Liam cried out, his voice a desperate plea, swallowed by the thunder, the trembling house, and the strange hum emanating from the mirror. Tears streamed down Stella's face, a mixture of terror and a morbid acceptance of the oblivion that awaited. As her hand touched the cold glass, a blinding light engulfed them. Stella, Liam, the house, the town, everything vanished in a blink. In their place, only the mirror remained, a silent testament to the cosmic horror that had claimed more souls, leaving behind only the echo of a scream as it was lost in the indifferent vastness